Doesn't matter if it's the music, the casters, or the games, it's keeping you on your toes here at the NPL split number 2 underway. 2 games in the books. We can take a look back at them before we take a look at what's happening in front. What stood out to you guys in those games? Let's jump. Oh, by the way, Toffees, Cameron, and Moses, in case you didn't know.
Yeah.
Gentlemen,
Game
what stood
1.
out to you? Game 1.
Game 1. I mean, like, what a game to start us off. Super chaotic. No one could be expecting this, and I don't think anyone expected this for their very first game to go to the military base, except Psych. It's not. It was just chaos across the board. You saw so many people die to the blue because trying to rotate in and out of that situation is just rough. It was hashtag this is Battle Royale. That's all I got.
I like the hashtag hand symbol. That was really put it on there for me. You know what? We talked last season about formerly Smoke and Aces being the agents of chaos, and they definitely thrive now, even though they've changed up the roster just a little bit and changed the label as well. But that was a chaotic game. They came out on top.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's probably one of those strange situations where a team like that is going to have to capitalize.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to do well in that. When we talk about the preseason, they won some early games. They seem to do well in those chaos moments. So good for them. I mean, is it good for everybody else to have a circle that is this intensely crazy at this stage?
It's a good wake-up call. It's like when you're feeling a little sick, you can get a sniff of wasabi just to, like,
wait, what?
Cleanse
Hold
out.
on, time
Cameron's
out.
been doing wine with wasabi again.
No. Wasabi. It's really good for cleansing out your sinuses.
Okay, good.
I've heard like Vicks Vapor. I have this picture of like baby Cameron getting like wasabi rubbed on his chest.
And that took us a full 2 minutes to start going to lines of wasabi into the desk.
It's like real wasabi, like the powdered stuff.
Okay, enough.
Okay. It's a cure. I get sick. Maybe I could use it. All right. Where were we at that point?
We were talking about the circle and
it jump starts you.
It's
It's a good jump start too. If anyone was feeling a little sluggish, especially the teams that didn't go to London, they had scrims, but it's not the exact same thing as having these games to play. They see that circle, they see the second and third circle. It's like, oh God, we're playing this game. Let's go.
Well, some teams don't want to do any research on different teams before time.
We're NA.
Yeah, it kind of costs you there a little bit. But you know what? I think in game number 1, it kind of shows just how sometimes it doesn't matter what your game plan is. The circle is going to put you on a string and take you wherever it wants to go. And game number 2 was a little bit more of an even keel, a little more standard on Miramar, where those extreme circles aren't as much of an issue.
Well, speaking of games 1 and 2, let's take this chance to look back at them. You know what time it is, Cameron?
I don't know. What time is it, Moses?
Highlights, Cameron!
Highlight time! All right, give me the highlights, baby. This is match 1, day 1, Orangle. The drop is hot, and the circle is not.
Nice shotgun to open it up. Seeing the fight in the very beginning between Envy and Pecadores is really good because hopefully this means we're going to start seeing more and more teams fight early on. This is no longer 2018. You want to get the points early when you can reliably get the fights before the third parties start to come into play. Unfortunately, with all this dying to blue action,
it's a tough time, man. Like, the bridge was such a focal point in this game.
Yeah.
First of all, everyone crosses it absolutely expecting the right way that it's going to go on the military island. And when it comes back across, the circle becomes the #1 person in this lobby to just eliminate players one after each other. Not to mention all the suicides to falling we saw.
Oh,
I think 3 out of 4 Ghost Gaming players died to suicide.
Yeah, I really wish we had a straight camera on that one because I really want to know what went down there. But nice nades there from Endemic to break open Space Station, but Basher just lying in wait.
This is kind of a weird situation here where we talked a little bit about how Denial was late to the circle, and then it ended up benefiting them. So, I mean, a mistake turns into a victory there. That's PUBG for you.
That's maximizing Battle Royale. Let's jump over to the second match of the day on sunny Miramar. Opening up with a Simplicity cutdown.
This fight back and forth between Envy and Endemic was, I mean, I don't know. Envy played it very, very well. Endemic? I don't know. I feel like they need to kind of go back to the drawing board on that one.
Well, I mean, this is a tough assault going into this compound, and you can see Pecadores Smurf was the last man standing, trying to make a valiant effort here. Player One Esports and Blue Martini Gaming stepping up. Profi played a massive factor in this game. He actually prevented that Space Station Gaming push in the late game there and really bailed them out, and then it was all came on. Even Nerf, you can see the confidence standing in the road, dismantling Ghost.
They need to get these kills now. They need to get these points now, as well as break open an avenue for them to get to the center of the circle, because up until then, Space Station had that on lock, but Tempo Storm, you can see them clearing out the sides.
This was a nice play by Jason.
It was.
He has a nice quick headshot. The spray, he is one shot away.
So close.
Very, very close there. Even the SLR can't follow up, and Valiate with next to no life has almost no chance against the double peak here, and it's going to be Tempo Storm just taking and sealing this game in the fashion that we have seen so often.
I mean, not from game one.
Okay, yeah, that's right. The one game where it's like, hey, the circle's going to decide how this game goes, and Tempo's like, I guess we're dead.
Well, and that's it too. Tempo drops in a location that makes an easy transition to military, so they pushed very hard.
Right.
And then when it goes back to where essentially they started, that's got to be A, frustrating, and B, probably mentally, like, triggering.
The best part of that was actually the fact that Ghost forced Tempo off the cliffs, and then Ghost themselves wind up off the cliffs as well.
Yeah.
So it's they went out to get that kill and then just never went back.
Yeah, I mean, Ghost and Tempo violently attacking each other. It's been around since the beginning of PUBG.
It's like the Bermuda Triangle.
It's like Ghost tried to emulate what Tempo does, except it ended in Ghost fashion where they all just kill themselves.
Right. Oh, man. I get it. Then the first game, lots of, no, you're right. That was rough for them. Okay. That said, so we looked back on that. Denial had a very strong win. They did come out on top of that one. Looking at the second game, I think that was more of what we expect from sort of a PUBG day one kind of match. But something that you brought up when we were chatting a little bit, Moses, is we're in a bolt action patch right now where the damage is very high. It seemed like teams were defaulting to bolt actions.
I mean, it's a high risk and high reward as well, because we saw a couple of times on Civil actually went for a bolt action shot and then didn't hit it, and in the middle of the bolt, the player that he missed turned and just eliminated him with an M14, a Mini 14 rather, and that's a situation where bolt action rifles, you got to hit your shots because it's a slow fire rate. You're not going to get the consistency you get with DMRs.
Isn't the bigger point of if you're using a bolt action, you need to duck back whether you hit or miss your shot no matter what?
It's a very tiny margin of error, believe me. It's so the timing. You hear the gunshot, and all you're doing is turning to see who's firing at you. And if you're not in cover, you're going to get erased by these pro players. Everyone in here can shoot. It's a matter of positioning and decision making, which makes the good team stand out from the rest.
Speaking of position and decision making, we have a really cool augmented reality map here. I want to take a look at game one. Cameron, specifically, you chose this game because you said you thought it would be interesting to take a look at the rotations and the challenges inherent with a circle as difficult as we saw. So as we get that ready, it'll pop up here. We'll take a first look at the plane path, and then we can see where everybody dropped, what the circle looked like, and how they got there. A reminder, we're going to show you the 4 featured teams' paths as well as the winning team when it comes to that. But it started off, the story started good. The prologue had a great plane.
Yeah. It's not the perfect plane, but it's pretty close to it. You've heard pros say that the plane route actually doesn't matter. So this is a good start for the very first game of the phase. It's only when the circles come into play that it really starts to mess everything up. But seeing how these teams adapt and really seeing how they can play the super meta, this game is, I think, one of the important ones to look at for that.
We got one team willing to go to the military base, accelerate back down there. We'll see how that plays out for their entire season. You know, I am not a big advocate of dropping there. But here comes the circle that spells bad news, Moses.
This is like that second circle with the 50-50 split. That's when you start to get worried. Because normally when you see that southern first circle, it's going military. Like 9 out of 10 times. And when you see that 50-50 over the bridge, that's when teams start to sweat. And maybe Denial there recognizes, even though they were late, that the chances are still very, very solid that they could be in the circle.
So look at Denial's route, actually. They went to go and play around the northern part of the bridge to try and camp, and if the circle did end up going to military base, they could at least get a couple of kills before they themselves had to make a risky transition. But because of this circle, it actually worked out back into their favor, and of course they end up winning the game.
This is, I mean, we talk about the RNG aspect of PUBG Esports in silly ways sometimes. These type of circles where it decides the game path, this is an RNG victory, and really you can't take a lot out of this game.
Okay. I'm gonna press hard back against that, because sure, the actual winner may have been decided a little more by the circle, but it is not up to the team to win every game. It is up to the team to get as many kills and points as possible, which is why you saw Ghost push so heavily onto Tempo Storm in the early game, because especially once they saw the 50-50, we don't know where this is going. Let's get these kills early before we then have to do something ridiculous.
Not to mention they had the foresight to eliminate themselves and prevent anyone getting those points. Really high-level plays, Cameron. I agree with you.
I will say this, that while Denial did get a little bit of fortunate on the circle when they were holding that position, they moved into the winning spot very quickly. They crossed the road out of Fishtown or Ferry Pier, whatever you want to call it, and locked up this hill and were able to really secure the win.
Yeah, I mean, they can win this one game. We'll see if they can consistently win the games after that, but that's where you play such a series of games.
Didn't you guys get into a back and forth about Denial Esports and your expected performance for them in the pre-show?
Yep. I said they were not going to get, I said that we would expect to see them in the bottom 4. I'll own that one. And they got 23 points in that first game, Cameron.
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
and 5 points after that.
No, sure, it's a good first game, but any team can get those first games. We saw them win a couple of games last phase. It's doing that on a regular basis. That's the mark of a good team.
So we're looking at the overall rankings right now. Denial, Tempo, Player 1, lining it up in 1, 2, 3. Player 1 seems to be racking up a good consistent counting. Accelerate, Blue Martini, and Lazarus, surprisingly, on the bottom of the bracket, but it's 2 games in. Can we really give it that much credence?
You can give it as much credence as giving Denial at the top. It's the flip side.
We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Wait and hope. It was a good start for Denial. We question their ability to really rise up quickly in this tournament or in this season. This is going to be a great boost to just the way that they look at the game, and I was happy to see that. They had a great attitude coming in.
Yeah.
It was really Charu. I think Charu was.
He put in work.
We see this on the damage output. This is over the first 2 games. I think out of Denial's kills, Charu had 10 of them.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's 10 kills going to 1 player and 13 kills going to 1 team.
Define is still up there as well, though. It's 2 players in the top 5. That's a good start. We saw Tempo Storm the entirety of Phase 1 have multiple players in the top 5 for kills. Can they keep this up?
I know I'm the host, but I still want to touch on this play that I saw from Define Legit and Charu. This is what happened, is Divine got a really good knock. He got a lot of damage going out. Charu was chasing someone else looking for the kill, and he went off of a last hit sort of scenario to get that kill to finish the down because it was such an open field. People were stealing kills left and right.
Yeah.
So Denial's communication, that tells me, is very on point for them to say, hey, transition over. All right, let's take a look at survival time. This is going to accrue through all of Phase 2. We're going to try to track this throughout the season. Aguila leading the charge, but Denial 2 and 3.
I mean, you're going to be up there if you're Denial and you win a game,
Amen.
Especially after we only have 2 games adding up. But Player 1 didn't win either game, and so this is showing that they're good at surviving into the late game. It's a little counter to what we're used.
They still got 10 kills in 2 games.
They did still get 10 kills in 2 games.
So they're a team that, to me, is always looking to average at 7 or 8 points per game. Survival is the key to that. Let's talk about kills now, Moses. Any big surprises here?
Not well, a little bit. I mean, Charu, while all these players can shoot, getting the kills is actually probably the easiest part of professional PUBG.
Oh.
But I mean, yeah, we'll talk about rotation movement, getting yourself in a position to get those kills. That's the hard part. The shooting everyone can do. But the point is for Charu, that first game, and not to mention with Define Legit, they partnered to really give themselves that first boost up the leaderboard.
Also, big shout out to McCoy, 6 kills to start this thing off from a team that's been kind of quiet. Yeah, they got in that weird fight with Tempo Storm, but we didn't see them sort of in the big final 3, and they're still putting up decent kill number.
Yeah, I mean, that was a team that went through some interesting changes during Phase 1. Didn't change anything between Phase 1 and 2, though. So hopefully now we can see them become the ghost that I think a lot of us expected to see, but failed to really see throughout the beginning of NPL.
There's a point where you want to see them stop collecting gems and start collecting trophies. And that's what I'm hoping to see out of Ghost this season. All right, let's take a look at the featured teams in the next round. Moses, walk me through these folks.
Space Station Gaming, they've come out to a good start. Their damage is high, their kills are decent. Ghost Gaming has been having some flashes. I like their positioning, a little bit more aggressive, moving through the mid game. Lazarus is stumbling out of the gate, and this is a question I had every time we see a big name org, even with Shoot to Kill in the past, moving into a team like Dignitas, they kind of struggled a little bit once that maybe the hunger is kind of sated now that they've been signed. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. Every single time historically in PUBG, there's a team that performs very, very well, and then once they get signed, they crumble. G2 is an example. Alliance is an example. Original SSG is an example.
Yep. And Tempo's in first, so there's that.
Yep.
Yeah, and Tempo's in first.
Yeah,
so.
for damage rather.
Yeah, and damage and kills first and second. That's the status quo.
I mean, that's, Tempo, right? And honestly, Tempo seems to start slow sometimes. To see them coming out very quickly is, I think, an omen for them, but worrisome for the rest of the teams.
Well, we talk about the new rosters, like all these different changes, but you know what's much more beneficial? Experience. Keeping the same core, taking that communication and dominating.
All right, speaking of experience, it's time for us to experience the final 2 maps of the day. Orangle and Miramar on the way, and the gentleman who will be taking you to those maps, to that game, will be none other than Porosaurus and the Discount Joker.
Thank you so much, Toffees, and we are back. We still got 2 more games to go through. Keep in mind, we're doing things a little bit different. I kind of like this whole halftime style thing.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I feel like we're getting sweaty there at the end of game 2 a little bit, you know?
Oh, yeah, just a little bit. I mean, it's
definitely a needed halftime break for the casters.
I definitely enjoy getting out and getting a run off. And it looks like we got some banter going back and forth between everybody. Zampa's throwing the hands up even.
Yeah, This is what we want to see. Everybody coming in here finally in the same room together. All the trash talk that's been done, all the Discord badasses now face to face with all their peers. We can see how it's going to turn out here as we're going to get some words traded back and forth here. But everybody loading back in the game right now to put it down on the field.
So Space Station Gaming getting up, set to go. Remember, they used to be Wide Tim's Fate. On the other side of that, Ghost Gaming, you should be familiar with everybody on this because this is how they left Phase 1.
Absolutely, and I think that the analyst does touch on it a little bit. Ghost Gaming having some pretty decent games here so far. Again, it's kind of hard to do anything with that first Randall game just because of how just crazy and weird and out of place it was. So, but a decent Miramar game from them.
Shout out to McCoy for helping us out during the remake earlier as well. Tempo Storm following up back behind that. Not necessarily at first. The first game wasn't the best for them, but the second game, they showed up.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is still Tempo Storm at the end of the day. I mean, this is still a team that, you know, when they turn things on, they are one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NPL. Currently still the best team in NPL.
Now the question mark is Lazarus. These guys not in the spot on the leaderboard we were expecting, but you can see they still got smiles. There's a long path to go through for the rest of Phase 2. So just first couple games, nothing to be worried about.
Absolutely. I mean, look, we talk about, you know, throw away that kind of first Randall game as kind of an indicator of anything in the future, but I want to see a good Miramar game coming out from him here in match number 3 as we are heading down back towards the land of sand.
The land of sand.
Land
I like
of sand
that.
and snakes.
It is, and so we got the plane that is up in the air. Nothing too crazy as we're looking at everything going through here. So Denial making the first dropout. Really, if you're just wanting to push over towards El Pozo in that direction, not the best plane for you, but we saw in the last game, nobody really seems to care about that place right now.
No, definitely not. And we can also see this plane heavily favoring the south side here. So all your teams, well, we did see some teams try to go to El Pozo, at least early on before we had the remake. So we might see some teams dropping right next to each other, having a little bit of confrontation over vehicles, but nothing just yet as the plane has finished its run. We can see SSG dropping out here towards the southern part of the map. Kind of a new spot for them. I'm not really used to seeing them there.
A lot of the teams are really back down towards the south. This is not too surprising given the way that the circle is set up, or not the circle, but the plane path is set up, but really it could lead to a little bit of an interesting rotation. Naturally, teams like Tempo Storm just get an easy drop from where they always like to go over Impala. And there we go, we're seeing a little bit more of that southwestern circle coming into play.
Yeah, just a little bit of a slight western tinge on this one, but pretty similar to the circle that we just saw in game number 1. So all those teams off to the south going to be pretty happy as we see Envy has decided to return to North Los Leones. They did a little bit of a Campo Militar excursion in game 1, but now back to where they normally call home. We can see P1E and E United all around there as well. So Los Leones definitely going to be a spot to keep an eye on as the season commences here.
Guys taking a couple of shots, just saying, oh, no, you don't come back over this way. We have this spot under lockdown. Naturally, we also did see Sharky that was kind of doing a little bit of a rotation out. He's kind of like the front man. Everybody else on Tempo Storm tends to get Impala, and he has to kind of go off and live by himself for a bit.
Yeah, but he's very comfortable with it. I mean, it's rare that you see anybody run into Sharky this early on, and especially now that Pecadores has kind of taken a new looting location, and rather than doing their normal, or what they did in Split 1 rather, which was a split kind of all around that La Bendita, Minas Generalis, basically Sharky's got nothing around him. He's going to be fine.
What's interesting is with this circle and the way we've seen so many teams already play back down towards the south, not a lot of teams really have to do long rotations. Really, it's just Denial and Blue Martini. Everybody else is pretty comfortable in their spot. It doesn't, maybe, what, they have to go maybe a kilometer? That's not bad for Miramar at all.
No, absolutely, and it still kind of opens up that option to do a long wraparound rotation if you really want to as well. I mean, we could see Pecadores or Lazarus or even Blue Martini really kind of head over towards the western side, maybe run into Endemic and Monte Nuevo, but other than that, I mean, it's fairly free and clear on that side.
So a lot of these teams are already probably contemplating how they expect shifts to come into play. And that's why we're probably going to see Cloud9 do a little bit of a rotation back down towards the south. Naturally, Ghost Gaming, they're going to need to make their way inside the safe zone. No strangers to doing a little bit more of a direct rotation themselves.
Yeah, it's a little bit late right now. Rumble's still very split up here in the center of the circle. They need to be anticipating, though, that these transitions are going to start coming in. As you can see on your map, Envy already sending some, C9 already sending some, Ghost already sending some. So this center part of the circle, Rumble needs to be careful or they might end up losing one here.
Lazarus said no inherent rush to move as of yet either, so we got a couple more seconds, about 30 or so, before the circle even starts to move. So really it's just going to be about getting a little bit more control over vehicles. And apparently we can see that he left something back in there that he decided he wanted. Jumps out the window, he's like, no, wait, upstairs.
Gotta have it. Need to have more grenades, all the grenades that you could possibly carry. Is Microfry going to take some shots at a passing C9? Nothing going to land, though. Nothing.
Well, look at this new
look at this.
target.
They're coming right into Envy, though.
Envy's just up on this hillside, and again, we talked about how loud those vehicles can be. You can see Rumbler's taking a couple shots on one side. Cloud9 very aware that Envy could be around this location, already taking shots back up towards Taro. He's got the grenade prepped and ready, going to drop it right down on the approaching Cloud9. Going to get a little bit more separation out of this, so you can see now Venerated making a push on the other side. Tara's going to assume that maybe there's a push coming from the angle right in between those buildings. Grenade's not going to connect. You can tell that Tara's playing on a defensive back foot right now, just trying to wait for the rest of the team to come in as everybody from Cloud9 is just flooding into his building complex.
Absolutely. I love the positioning from Venerated here, but unfortunately C9 going in the opposite direction, so he was not able to get any angle on, or any line of sight rather, onto this approaching team. Interrogate's going to have to try to stay alive, but Venerated moves into position, going to get the down onto K-Mine.
So with this, Taro takes the shot, looks back over, very aware that somebody could be coming up back behind him. So K-Mine does go down in that. Wynn's now trying to get into a position where he can see if he's got enough cover to go for a res onto it. There is a lot of Cloud9 players over here, but really it's Envy holding down multiple angles. You can see Moody way off in the distance was trying to get some shots, but finally everybody else from Envy is starting to make their way out and get separated. And that's going to be Profi finding Taro. Finally, he's going to go down, and it's going to be the Rumblers Godspeed still taking shots at Cloud9, as I believe that Envy still up on that hillside in no rush to move.
Great positioning there by Profi, making sure that he came out down just enough to get that line of sight onto Interrogate, and it looks like Envy's going to pull off of this. Moody and Venerated still in there trying to find angles, taking some shots here, but nothing really going to happen here, as they're just going to have to pull off of this and stay alive for a later day.
Pat Kep's finally coming up to rejoin the rest of the Envy members, but it's probably going to be too late for Taro, as he is as good as dead. Now it's just a matter of, what does Envy want to do out of this? Do they want to try to commit? And it looks like based off the repositionings, we saw them turn around and start running the other direction, so wouldn't be surprised if we just see a full disengage coming out from Envy. But Cloud9 taking no risks. You could tell they didn't know how many members of Envy were in that position. With Pat Caps coming in so late, they never heard that fourth fire.
Yeah, fortunate for Envy here as well. They are able to pull off this escape here as we check in on Valiate running up onto Accelerate Gaming. This could be a 1v1. Valiate definitely knows Disciple's here. I don't think Disciple is aware of his presence, though.
We're going to spot him out now as the shot's going to come out from Valiate. He was creeping around the outside of this. Going to be a lot of these boxes taking the damage. Finally, Valiate does connect, going for the flush. I think that he's firmly aware he is all by his lonesome, so going to go ahead and walk up and get a down flush off of this. So going to be a second point going over towards him.
Yeah, rough early couple of games here for Disciple and for Accelerate Gaming, as they just kind of keep losing players just here and there, just kind of getting nickeled and dimed as they progress through these games. But that's a nice little pickup now for SSG, 2 kills, even though they have lost one.
Keep in mind, this is still Valiate kind of doing Valiate things by himself right now, being that point man, kind of scouting out as it goes. Tempo Storm already got themselves a kill based off of their rotation. They went on that southern path, again, as Tempo Storm known to do. They just take that scenic route all the way down around the south, now making their way back up. So we're going to see the circle shifting in just a second, but Denial looks like they might be taking a similar path as what we saw Tempo Storm, so that could be a potential skirmish brewing in about a minute or so from now.
Yeah, this is exactly the same thing as we saw in game number 2. Tempo sending it early, Denial right behind them. Fortunately, this time around, a little bit more space in between. Denial taking a little bit longer to loot, letting Tempo make their way into the south side of this circle already. But you can see they're scouting a little bit more. Denial still needs to get into circle. They instead of wrapping all the way down to the south, they're tending to make it here just north of Puerto Pariso and then cutting immediately west. So that could help them prevent any early conflicts with Tempo.
You can see Tempo's already starting to found. They think that they found themselves the building that they want to play around. Fairly centralized. They've got E United as neighbors, but they're just kind of a little bit up the hill. So a little bit of long-range shots could be going back and forth between them. Nothing too terribly scary. Space Station Gaming, as you can see, racking up the total kills. There's our total ranks with Denial sitting up at the top of the leaderboards. I gotta say, Tempo Storm didn't have the best first game to already be in second place. That's kind of telling of the fact that they're kind of here to play.
Hey, man, you can have one good game, and it makes a huge difference, as we see in that leaderboard. Denial with that 28-point, currently in first place. But you have to keep backing it up. You have to keep it going. So we'll see what they do as these next 2 games progress and as the weekend closes out, if they can hold on to that first place position after 1 week.
Taylor J up on top of the buildings. We've seen him in a position like this multiple times. This guy has no fear whenever he's got a sniper rifle in his hands. New Circle has popped, fairly centralized in what we were looking at beforehand, so the skirmishes that we're looking at potentially between Tempo Storm and E United, still towards the middle of it, no big rotations required from them. Really, it's just the latecomers, Denial, and I want to say Pecadores that might have a little bit of contention to work with, but Tempo Storm not settling on their laurels at all. They keep finding a new spot that they decide that they want to try to check out.
Always on the move, always trying to pick up a next spot that's going to be able to gain them more information. They are taking a few shots here from Taylor J, but nothing too serious. So that's going to be enough just to make them wrap around a little bit more to the south rather than straight towards the center as they originally looked like they might be wanting to go.
And this is a spot we see E United play around fairly regularly. They like the high ground positioning that comes into play. Crowd 9, well, we talked about in the last game, they made a very early rotation in this game as well, and they're looking back down towards the team, taking a couple of pot shots at them. Just trying to keep a little bit more defense, as I believe it's going to be Blue Martini Gaming. Also, that does have Lazarus that's right over there next to them.
Yeah, they need to be careful. Blue Martini has been sticking together as 4. They have been playing as a tight-knit squad here, but in this meta of grenades everywhere, you need to be so careful when you're clambering all 4 into one compound.
Also, it is Lazarus. We can see these guys just dismantle teams whenever they decide that they want to breach. Or I almost want to say they don't even really breach it. They just take control of the entirety of the outside of the building, and they're like, sooner or later you're going to have to move, and then we kill you.
Yeah, Lazarus may or may not have a reputation amongst all the player base and NPL teams as the most likely to throw about 20 grenades at you to try to get a kill. So you need to be careful when these guys are getting within throwing range of where you're at.
I find it funny how much the teams now are talking about, like, oh, you're the one that spams grenades. I don't spam grenades. Like, everybody in this is just like, oh, it's a matter of pride. But then you see whatever it's like, whenever it becomes important, everybody needs those points. Suddenly, grenades come out.
Yeah, it's always a matter of pride. But until you see with the leaderboards, that's the ultimate case of pride right here. As we check in on Ghost, going to take a few long-range shots here. Believe at C9, they do have Envy just below them, but I don't think they're aware of their presence just quite yet.
And I do have to say, I like the way that Ghost is playing inside of Phase 2. Towards the end of Phase 1, they didn't feel like how we kind of expected Ghost to play. And I almost kind of felt like that anytime you saw like their rotations or their firefights. This time around, coming in a lot more confidence and swagger. I mean, if there's one thing whenever we think about Ghost gaming, it is confidence.
Absolutely, and one thing you can tell just by looking at the first couple of games, they are doing such a great job of sticking together. They're keeping together as 4, not doing the one here, 2 there kind of thing, rather just kind of moving as a group, moving as a unit, rather than as a collection of individuals.
So we do have Maluk that's down. Zampa's trying to figure out if he can go here for a res onto it. There are a couple of members of Space Station Gaming around this. You can see Valiate's just on the other side of that hill. 2 members, Jay Sank, and it's going to be Baja. They're doing a little bit of a rotation just down at the feet right next to the Tempo Storm players as they're trying to go for a res. And it looks like the res should be fairly safe. Nobody from Space Station Gaming really wanting to commit to this too deep. So now the shot's going to come out from Valiate. Does connect, and that's going to be Zampa going down as well. Nice shots coming out from Valiate on that nice positioning.
Valiate and the boys from SSG, they make you think that they're not wanting to take the fight, but really what they're doing is they're just getting into better position, trying to surround you before pushing in and choking the life out of you as Zampa manages to crawl into the building, but I don't think he's going to be able to stay there for long.
I love this. You know Zampa's like, dude, I just rezzed you. Now it's your turn. You got to save me from this. The rest of Space Station Gaming seems to be aware, like, hey, There's only 2 people here, but here comes the motorcycles, and you could hear them. Space Station Gaming now getting into a little bit more of a defendable position. You can see everybody switched over to a crouch spot. But look, it's a full-on cavalry charge coming out from Tempo Storm. They want to protect their teammates, and with the split positioning that you can see that Space Station Gaming took, it's fairly risky. They've got Baja on a very direct back flank. He's kind of the weak point on this. If they step up, now all the members of Tempo Storm have managed to regroup together.
Bahawaka is managing to pull off of this. Right now, Valiate just holding the line here, making sure that Tempo doesn't wrap around his way. Meanwhile, Tempo just making their way around the southern side here, chasing the spot where Bahawaka used to be.
Nice control coming through there, and I gotta say, perfect timing on the reinforcements. Otherwise, that could have been a world of trouble for Zampa and Maluk. So with this, they do manage to keep all their members up. But now, there is one solo member of Space Station Gaming, that's Valiate, that's still kind of around where Tempo Storm's at. Tempo Storm, not in too big of a rush to hunt this down. They're like, okay, we kind of stepped up. We're on the edge of the circle. This really isn't a fight worth going like whole out for, so instead they're just going to kind of like move around, see if they can make it back over their vehicles. I wouldn't be surprised if they just decide to try to get out of here, but now they're kind of doubled up on motorcycles.
There you go. And they're going to go ahead and move on out of this, live to fight another day, keep 4 up. Anything you want to say about it, they're doing it as Zampa and Maluk. Just going to go ahead and run behind all of this. Meanwhile, SSG gets left with 3 players in a little compound there on the edge of circle.
Just running back behind their teammates. Space Station Gaming is going to be following back behind that, so we're going to have to see how they decide to play it. You can see how the circle is now posted up. Not too many teams having to move. Everybody's pretty situated at this point. Interesting split coming out from Denial, still trying to hold around that one position, but as you're pointing out, Boro, right up on top of each other, there are a ton of teams stacked up to the northeast.
Yeah, that is Blue Martini Gaming, Envy, and Lazarus. Envy looks like they have 2 in one building. Again, Blue Martini keeping the majority of their team all in one building together. That is such a scary place to be. It can be strong. You just have to make sure that all your lines of sight are covered and you don't let anybody come in and sneak a grenade on it.
Pat Cap's in full on defense right now. You can see 2 teams in 2 different buildings. Now, the question comes into play, does Lazarus know this? Since we just jumped over here with them, we don't know if they have that information. It could be very dangerous if they do decide to like go for one of their normal building breaches. They might not expect a whole nother team just to be that close at this stage.
Yeah, as you said, I mean, I don't think we can expect any kind of breach here from Lazarus as they are in that very wide 2-2 split on that north side, really. It's just, this is just Alo and Purdy Curdy seeing what they can see in these windows, maybe get a cheeky down here or there. But you can see they have the grenades here if they want to engage on this.
This is a lot more of the attrition game that comes into play. It's about trying to like knock off armor, knock off helmets, make people burn through meds. You're not necessarily trying to go and get a kill by any means. You would love to get one if you can, but really it's just about inflicting damage and making it so much harder for these teams to survive, because since you're next to each other, you have to assume that you're going to be rotating near each other as well.
Yeah, this is the fight that wants to pop off so bad, but they're just playing it so safely. You can see nobody peeking, nobody gonna give over peek, basically, not gonna give up too much here.
Oh,
so the
here we go.
circle's popped.
Couple of shots coming out from Space Station Gaming over
Cloudtail.
towards Accelerate Gaming. So Cloudtail's got the angle, but he is outside and in the blue. J-Sync and Bahawaka, the last 2 members of their squad, still looking back down, using the down teammate as bait at this point, going, all right, Cloudtail, if you go for this, it's just going to be over for you. So Cloudtail's just trying to figure out if he can maybe make a little bit of a rotation down, use the low grounds off it. J-Sync thinking about pushing up into the blue, seeing if he can get a little bit more information. Are we going to see Cloudtail expecting this? And look, J-Sync being very brave in this push, not knowing exactly where he's at, but does spot him out, and it's going to be a couple of shots. Cloudtail's just trying to use the terrain. The hill is taking so much damage as he was just juking his head back and forth. And there we go. Accelerate is eliminated. Space Station Gaming has to make a little bit of a cross back over towards the blue, but Purdy Curdy looking over right next to Drassel.
Here we go. Drassel, the boys from Ghost have pushed up onto Lazarus here. Fights.
Now we got a little bit of a peak battle going back and forth. Looks like Drassel has an idea on where they're at. Throwing out the grenade, going to do a little bit of damage to Purdy Curdy. It's so much control coming out from Lazarus right now. They don't want to overextend on this. They are trying
Tempo.
to be cautious. Yeah, Tempo Storm, you do not want to drive through this neighborhood right now. Are they still doubled up on those 2 motorcycles? They are. Here comes the spray on 2 different angles, and Alo just tears down 2 members at Tempo Storm. It's going to be Adam that follows it up with 2 quick flushes.
The back 2 from Tempo still alive, though. They're making their way out of Los Leones, but they're coming right into the middle of Ghost Gaming now. This is a terrible rotation coming out of Tempo. This is just I mean, it was all the way from the south. They had no idea what was going on up to this side, but they managed to survive.
This is just a Hail Mary is all this is. Zampa is just gunning it through all of this. betraying the fact that everybody else is distracted. He has now found himself somewhere that he thinks that is safe enough at the time. So we do have Lazarus and Ghost starting to do a little bit of an exchange with Tempo just kind of coming up and startling everything that's going on. You can see McCoy does go down, but there's two members of Lazarus on the outside of this looking towards Balak and Drassel. So now Purdy on that side push, holding back Balak, trying to deny any form of reinforcements. Don't let Ghost try to regroup. Long grenade getting thrown out, but you can see nobody's capable of going after it. And look, Purdy actually does hit the grenade back over towards Balak. So now there's just two members of Ghost remaining, and Lazarus still with the control. They know it is so dangerous to make that cross, so they're just biding. They're just waiting, seeing if maybe they can get another down off of it, but in that time, McCoy might get rezzed.
The problem here was that Balak was their insurance policy for Ghost. He was there to make sure that nothing could push onto them from the side. Unfortunately, he gets spotted out, so now all your lines of sight are coming from outside of this warehouse. They have no information about what's coming around them.
Shoot to Kill is just trying to herd all of the members of Ghost slowly together, so that way it makes it a little bit
Look
easier
at this,
to
they're
take
getting the
care of.
reses.
So no real desire to do a hard push into this, no breach. This is a dangerous building to push into with all of like the little wooden crates and pallets and barrels scattered everywhere. So Lazarus decides in fact to be a little bit more cautious with this. Balak's just trying to crawl right in front of the blue. I think that he should be able to make it because the blue should stop right there. Yep.
Look at
and
this.
then going to be able to get a res back over onto it. So nice amount of, I want to say, just defense coming out from Ghost.
That is 100% what it was. The last two remaining players up for Ghost doing exactly what they needed to do to prevent Lazarus from making that push. It was so difficult that they couldn't do it.
And what's funny is with those warehouses, that entire other side is just out in the open. But there's only one member of Pecadora, Smurf, that's looking back on what's happening inside of this, and he can't really risk taking the shots. So Ghost has a little bit more control over the area than they might realize, but the new circle is not here. So everybody's gonna have to do a little bit of a skirmish to see if they can make it inside the circle or at least annihilate somebody, because you don't want anybody to sneak up back behind you.
Now, while we have praised Ghost for doing such a good job of preventing that push from Lazarus, they're still in a huge, just a world of hurt right here. As Lazarus has position on the next circle into him, they have to find some way to get out of this. They need to get it down here, Matrim.
Yeah, without a doubt. You can see Lazarus still just trying to control every single aspect, every single rotation point. There are a lot of smokes that have come out on the angle that McCoy is trying to push through. You can see he's actually left the warehouse off to the left of where we're looking with Uncivil and trying to see if maybe he can make it right up on top, maybe make it up to those hills, but Shrimsy going down is going to make this a lot worse. McCoy got spotted out as well. That's two members now down. This is now three members down. It's just Balak way off in the distance, and he's going to get sprayed down as well. Lazarus finally takes down Ghost.
Such a hard push coming out from Ghost, but Lazarus taking the perfect position onto all of that, overseeing the entire thing.
And we're back over here now with one of the crazier fights that we've been seeing. Is it's going to be Cloud9 walking right up next to the Rumblers. That's going to be Godspeed taking down. Los is down already. So Microflora and Waldo still looking down. You can see H-Win back in the back, or Win, I'm sorry, back in the back of this. Nerf now trying to figure out how they're going to go. Are they going to, do they have, no grenades are coming out. They're just kind of sitting here waiting. Now it's just Nerf. So he can't afford to push this at the time, and that could allow Rumblers to get all of their numbers back up.
He wants to stay alive, but at the same time, he needs to be careful about the push. And look at this, Smurf. Pecadora's Smurf is actually solo wiping E United as we speak here. Nerf, though, he needs to be careful about the push.
He realizes the fact that he gave it away. He walked around the corner, saw the res come through. Now they know where he's at. He knows where they are, and he knows that they have the numbers. So now it's a matter of making it a guessing game. Try to use the terrain to get as much control as you can. Use the buildings. He's by himself, got enemies all around him, and they know he is here.
We'll have to keep an eye on the northern part of this circle. You still have Blue Martini, Envy, and Lazarus that are all overseeing this. Meanwhile, Simplicity is starting to do a little bit of a northern wrap here.
See,
they could get involved here soon.
This is where I thought we were going to go a second ago, because we still have Envy and Blue Martini Gaming right next to each other, and Lazarus is like, okay, we're done with Ghost. Let's go back and look and check in what's happening in this other fight. And everybody's just kind of chilling.
But this is the thing. This is kind of what we've seen coming out of late Split 1 Oxy, and here so far with Blue Martini Gaming. They're trying to just get into a position where they can stay alive. It's safe. It's safe. We just want to stay there as long as we can, get positioning, and then try to take our fights late.
So, with the new circle pop, only one member was inside of the new safe zone, and that was going to be one of the player one Esports members. So, Lazarus has the high ground, but don't have a good angle on how Blue Martini Gaming is doing their rotation. Envy they're not quite so lucky. But the problem with it is 15 seconds, the circle's going to have to start moving. Lazarus is going to have to move as well. But you can see one member of Blue Martini Gaming still hanging back. Envy is caught between two different teams, and Nerf spots out one and gets a flush back over towards the Rumblers. Again, using the buildings for defense. The grenade's going to come through. Can Nerf get away from it in time? Looks like he does manage to make it back through the doorway. So now, getting more and more time, and really just slowing down all the other teams that are next to him.
Microfry serving that grenade up raw. If he would have spent a little bit of time cooking it, he might have had him dead to rights. Here come the shots.
Trying to get over towards one of them. Nerf gets a nice exchange on the push up the stairwell, but does not get either one of the downs. Now jumps back out. Is he going to go for a reposition on this? Is he going to sneak back around? And he does. He gets that down onto one of them.
Nerf.
Now this is down to a 1v1. Nerf has been so patient for this, and he has been playing mind games around the Rumblers right now. Waldo's just trying to crawl for safety. Goes for the shots up onto this. Nerf's down to below half life. The blue is coming in. He steps up and he manages to get it. Great job by Nerf.
Nerf with the and he gets taken out by Pride in the process, but what a performance solo from Nerf there as we go to Lazarus going 4 deep in the vehicle again.
We talk about how this is not a good way to live your life in PUBG. They just come in guns a-blazing right over here next to United. Ayla goes down inside the exchange, but Lazarus is just continuing to rain down damage upon them. Smokes bouncing off of their team members as they're trying to get the res and get more control over this location, but a huge grenade from Stab.
This is what you had to worry about. If you were going to send it to the center, they had no idea where United was. They did not know that they were crashing right within grenade range of Stab, and he gets 2 for free.
So now Purdy Curdy does get his health back up, going to retreat back over. Player 1 Esports making an approach on this. They hear the firefights as well. So we've got Lazarus with 7 kills, but going to be down to 2 members. The smokes are going to start dissipating in a second. United got their numbers back up as well. So replenishing down smokes. Grenade's going to bounce out just a little bit away from Lazarus. So United getting more and more control over this area, getting nice vision, but the new circle is going to pop in about 15 seconds, and United's right on the edge of it.
And check a look at Blue Martini Gaming. 3 strong, complete control over the northern side of this. They have angles on a lot of stuff from range here, but nothing just yet. We're going to have to see where the circle goes, and it's going to go south. They're going to have to move.
You can see Lazarus started to try to bully out United, trying to get a couple of shots back over. United now knows that they need to flank back around, but that's going to be exactly where Player 1 Esports is already starting to set up. Player 1 Esports has the circle at the time. Blue Martini Gaming is trying to make their way up towards the north of it, but it's just a lot of little independent, I'd say solos and duos. They're just kind of hiding around these different locations, so Player 1 Esports has to be very aware of this, but is United going to see them first? There is just a little bit of a ridge and a tree. I think that Stab knows where they are. He does see Aguila, takes the shots into his back, gets the down on one of them, and that's actually going to be Taylor J getting some shots as well, but it's going to be Basher at long range and does some damage over towards Stab. Ooh. He goes down. Now it is just 1 member up for United, but there's 2 members down on the other side of this. Look at this. We've got Sharp Shot just taking long range shots back over at Lazarus.
Yeah, but Wildcard has to worry about getting into the circle now. They're going to continue their wrap around. They hear the shots coming out of Blue Martini. Meanwhile, Player 1 has to try to figure out what they're going to do. Taylor J not having any of it.
He walks up and he tries to get it, but it's actually going to be Basher that gets the shots on the other side. With a little bit of a distraction, now you can see Lazarus taking those shots back over towards Player 1 Esports. They are a little bit damaged. They're playing around inside the smokes, but we can still see that Lazarus still needs to move forward about another 10 meters to make it inside the new safe zone.
We talked about Blue Martini Gaming playing it safe for the early game just to turn it on here in the late game to try to pick up some kills, and that is exactly what they're doing. They are putting so much pressure on Lazarus right now.
Nice shots coming out from Purdy. Curdy gets the headshot back over towards David. So that leaves a 1 member, I believe, up for Player 1 Esports. They had control over the circle a second ago, but it was just too many different teams taking the pot shots back down towards them. So Lampalot moved over towards the center, and now you can see Purdy Curdy starting to get a little bit more information, but Jason on the other side of it. Blue Martini Gaming still has 3 members up.
Absolutely, but look at Player 1 Esports. They have the ability to possibly get these reses off, but Lazarus trying to push in to make sure they can finish these kills.
It's a great use of the distractions of all of the fights that are happening. Instead of taking the third-party action, you can see one of them is just hanging back, doing just that, and the other one's going for a reposition. Finally, we see Wildcard having to leave their high ground positioning, but that's going to put them right back down next to one of the members of Blue Martini Gaming. So that's why Jason's trying to hit the shots.
There it is.
Basher shows up at the necessary moment, gets the down. Adam is just looking back over towards the last member, D-Treats for Player 1 Esports.
Carbon the pickup, the new player for Blue Martini Gaming, coming in clutch with the grenade on a Wildcard. Now they have the control over the north once again. They have to find some kind of angle here on the Lazarus, though, because this duo is just breathing fire down on on Player One Esports.
They have 8 kills at the time. There is just the 2 of them. And they're still just trying to take control over the circle. Look at this. Purdy's making a flank position to move up next to D-Treats. They know it's just one member. D-Treats is just hiding behind this rock. He's just become best friends with it at this point. Looking around, is he going to spot out the member? Yes, a couple of shots go back and forth. Purdy Curry's trying to get a little bit more damage, but Adam provides the cover. D-Treats is taking a lot of damage, and Purdy knows it. Look at the call out. You know that was one shot, but he walks right into the weathering fire of D-Treats. Now it is just Adam looking back over towards Blue Martini Gaming.
D-Treats with the godly prediction, just listening, audio cues, just letting him know he was getting pushed. And now Lazarus has to try to make his way into the circle. He's going to dive down. Blue Martini Gaming is in prime position to win this entire thing, and that's going to be it for Adam.
Adam goes down, trying to punch down the bullets. Now D-Treats the last member, not going to see the carbon push on the side of it, so now all the numbers are favoring Blue Martini Gaming, and now D-Treats knows he is in some trouble. Reposition
Flank
coming
from
up from Carbon on the side of this, slowly creeping back up. He should be able to get vision right as soon as he crests the hill. The game is in their hands, and he doesn't even need it as Jason hits a shot. 7 kills, and Blue Martini takes a win.
What a great win for the boys from Blue Martini Gaming. Like we said, look, everybody said that they were not to expect a whole lot from this squad coming in, but look at this. 3rd game in, they already pick up a win, playing the way they want to play, their style, and it has paid off in absolute buckets for them.
Doesn't matter if it's Oxymoron, doesn't matter if it's Blue Martini Gaming, they still get the crowd show up every single time.
Absolutely.
They have such a dedicated fan base.
I mean, look, what a great performance for them. Look, they played it so safe. They played it their own personal style. They weren't out there looking for kills. They were 3 deep to a building until it was time.
Before we say they played too safe, they were sharing a building complex with Envy and left before Envy did.
That is true. That is true. So, I mean, look, great performance. Just goes to show you that up and down, from 1st to 16th, anybody in this leaderboard, anybody in this lobby can win any game at any time.
We're starting to see a lot of step up from a lot of these teams. The roster swaps really starting to pay off. And again, you can just see these guys are so happy. If you guys don't remember the storyline with this team, it was just a group of friends that decided to start playing through the qualifiers, and they fought their way all the way into NPL Phase 1. And now on Phase 2, the very first day, they get a win.
They got a sponsor, they've got a win, now they've got 17 points as well to bring themselves home. Not a bad day, not a bad way to start your day.
But again, we also need to talk about Player One Esports and Lazarus showing up inside the top 5. That's starting to be a little bit of a story that we're going to start seeing happen more and more, I'm feeling.
Absolutely. I mean, all the way through today so far, Player One Esports has been in that top 8 side of the leaderboard more often than not. We're seeing them in the top 5. It's only a matter of time before they just go off. I mean, they were in prime position there before they opted for a little bit of a greedy 2-2 split. But hey, you know, you gotta scared money don't make money, Matchroom.
I mean, I thought there for a second Wildcard had a great angle back over towards Blue Martini, but then they managed to spin, get the downs exactly when they needed to, because there was one member right at the bottom of the hill that Wildcard was making their way down through and just tossed up a grenade at the perfect time.
Yeah, that was I think that was Carbon from Denial. Just managed to sneak in there, managed to get underneath Wildcard without them noticing him, because they were taking that long-range fire from the other members of Blue Martini. So the smokes came out, they couldn't see him. Carbon in perfect position, great grenade.
Unsung hero of that game for me, Nerf.
Nerf.
He fought so hard. That was like the biggest heartbreak for me. He finally wins this big, huge fight where he's been outnumbered for so long, jumps out, and he's like, I'm in the safe zone, let's go, everybody. And then a random bullet just and takes him down.
Pride comes and ruins everything, as Pride is wont to do. But what a great individual performance there from Nerf, winning the 1v3 against Rumblers. I mean, he had them wondering where they were. They had no clue.
Well, just also the wherewithal that he had. He knew how they make their approach. I mean, there was a lot of heady action that was happening inside of that. He had to assume how they were making their push, jumps back down, knew how they were going to be making the push back up the stairs, comes up back behind, gets it down onto one of them, and then retreats back on a different angle. Man, that was just so good to watch.
It's so rare that you see a 1v3 where the solo player is in complete control of the situation and their other 3 are having to play around him. But there you go. Match 3, Blue Martini Gaming, 17 points for themselves. Player 1 stacking another 14, though.
A great performance back behind them. Lazarus finally getting some points that we needed to see from them. We got talking about the fact that they were showing up in late game, but I was mistaken. They didn't make it in the top 5 until right now. So United following back behind that with the great game. I know a lot of people really excited to see United showing some really good games.
Absolutely. We were waiting for United to kind of get things going last split and never seemed to really take hold. This split seems like they're coming out fairly confident right off the bat. Wildcard Gaming in 5th place with another 10 points for themselves. Cloud9 adding to their total as well with 7 kills and 8 points. It's bad placement, but the 7 kills on top of that makes up for everything.
And look, that's Pekka getting 3 points off of 3 kills. Are we starting to see a lot more active play style? Because remember, these guys tend to be a little bit more calm, but now we're starting to see them step it up and start to go for a couple more kills in the early game, and it gets them up into the top 8 at least.
Yeah, I mean, old Pekka was known, old Space Station, now old Pekka was known.
At what point do we have to stop going with both of their names? I'm getting so confused.
It's literally game 3. We're going to have to still talk about it a little bit.
I know.
But, okay, old Pekka though, was known for getting high placement points, but really kind of light on the kills, low on the damage.
Yeah,
Everybody
100%.
on that team was below average damage and kills for the entire split, with the exception of one player, and that was Win. And they have now replaced that player with Vox. But we're seeing now a little bit more aggression coming out of Pekka, so maybe now we can see more points off of kills here.
All right, so here's our overall leaderboard. We got Player 1 Esports up at the top of it.
Oof.
Right back behind that, we've got Denial, Cloud9, Tempo Storm, Blue Martini Gaming, Space Station Gaming, Wildcard Gaming, and Lazarus.
Player 1 Esports taking first place on the day so far. 3 games in, has not won a game yet.
Yeah.
And they have 18 kills so far, second only to Cloud9. I mean, look,
Cloud9's
Cloud9,
21
21 kills, 26 points.
This is why we're friends. We both looked at that and we were like 21 points off of kills right now. We seem to know what Cloud9's plan is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They are playing aggressive, but unfortunately the aggression not paying off in terms of placement points so far for them. But that is one of those things that you can expect to come in time. The fact of the matter is they are going out there and they are taking fights right now, Matchroom, and they are winning them.
One thing I did want to note is Tempo Storm having a little bit of an early kerfuffle towards this, and then kind of a crazy just let's jump on vehicles and run right into the middle of the circle kind of situation.
Yeah, that was
was that a desperation Hail Mary play, kind of like how we were saying, or do you think it was just there was nowhere left to go?
I think what happened, and again, I could be completely wrong, but this is just based off of what we saw on the map. I think Tempo was on the outer edge. They saw the hardship to the north. They scouted ahead. They saw where the next spot they might have wanted to go was. They saw it was occupied, but everywhere was occupied on that southern side.